Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hello and welcome to The Money Factor. I'm Richard Naylor, your host. Today we'll be discussing entrepreneurship. In other words, starting or running a business. We'll also touch on home-based businesses and things that you might have to develop with a little more complexity. Our guest is Dr. Thomas Denham from Careers in Transition. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. This is going to be a good show, I know.
I hope so. I always start with doing a little bit of research and look at statistics because I want to get an idea about how many people are involved, and I was pretty surprised. I know there are a lot of small businesses, and numbers like 1 million are impressive. But in this case, I found one that said up to 15 million people in this country are work for themselves. Now, that's kind of a broad definition, but if you work for yourself, in a way, I guess you're owner of a business.
Right. The definition of entrepreneurship is someone that doesn't have a safety net. So if we look historically at this country was founded by a bunch of entrepreneurs. It was not founded by people who work 9 to 5. So people immigrated to the United States and they started businesses. And early on, they were going to be farmers, or they were going to be merchants, or they were going to be traders, or they were just going to sell something. And I think, given all the layoffs that we're experiencing, more and more people are resisting the temptation to work for somebody else. And they may think that somebody's going to take care of them, but I understand that starting a business may be the way to financial security, and people don't really know that there is a great risk in starting a business. But for me, I think it's the ultimate job security.
So on the one hand, you could be scared to death to let go of that safety net. On the other hand, you could be excited to be off on your own.
Yes.
It's a personality thing, I guess?
Well, psychologically what happens is you give up security and stability for freedom. So that takes quite a leap of faith to do that. But you get to self-actualization if you make this leap. And certainly you can have a fantastic career working for other people, but what I've noticed is that people who start their own businesses, I haven't met one person that said, wow, I'd rather go work for somebody else now.
Right. I want to be told what to do.
I want to be told what to do. And see, what happens is once you get that taste of that freedom and that flexibility and the creativity, and you're really building something for yourself, you don't want to go back and just get a steady paycheck. You want to be rewarded for your own performance. But there's tremendous risk involved. If you have a lot, you have a lot to lose.
I was going to ask you what is entrepreneurship, and I think your answer is kind of neat.
It's somebody who starts a business, and there are several ways that you can start a business. One is you can just quit your job and be an entrepreneur and form your own company. But what I would like to see more and more people do is run something out of their house.
Oh.
Just try something. Whether it be, baking cookies, making something, selling jams, fixing computers, consulting, things like that. And that's how I started my own business. For 10 years, I ran it out of my house, and I was, getting money here, and this was a good thing. And then I realized I could turn this into a full-time operation.
I like the history part that you gave. That really puts a little bit into perspective of our country, as opposed to in Europe they have guilds and people are working for people. Of course, I'm going back to the Middle Ages, but that developed into the Industrial Revolution and larger companies and people working for other people. And here, I can imagine in Jamestown there wasn't a lot of companies you could go to work for.
No, there wasn't a whole lot of job security. I mean, in Jamestown they didn't say, we're only going to shoot deer from 9 to 5, and then we're going to come home. No, it was, every day was a work day. there was great risk and reward by coming to this country. And I think you're going to see more and more people, baby boomers, but also somebody like me in Generation X, who have seen people been downsized or laid off, or perhaps have been downsized or laid off themselves. And they get to rethink these things, that here we are in the worst recession since the Great Depression, and if I go work for somebody else, am I going to be secure? Is a job with the state secure? Traditionally strong institutions like higher education, school districts, all laying off people. So, where can you find that security? You can find that security within yourself. And so, for example, for careers in transition, the only way careers in transition can fold is if I don't perform, or I sleep in and I don't show up for work, and that never happens.
The second would be like killing yourself, a little suicidal.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's no way it can fail. I won't let it fail, and I like my boss.
Well, actually, psychologically, that might be a good prerequisite, but it gets us started looking at personalities again. I could just ask, what makes a good entrepreneur?
Somebody who's a risk taker. Somebody who's willing to say, I have a dream that if I gamble and go for this thing over here, and I put my heart and soul into it, I believe that I will have a better life. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage to do something like that. So the 3 pillars of a successful entrepreneurship are believing in yourself, believing in something, and have someone believe in you. If you don't have those 3 pillars, you're not going to be successful.
I like that, because when you first said risk taker, I can imagine a lot of risk takers. You go down to Las Vegas and you say, well, I have 40,000, I'm going to put it on black. Well, you have a 50% chance, a little worse than a 50% chance of losing.
Right.
And that might not be the kind of risk taker. That's more like somebody who doesn't have a sense of how to handle risk.
I would say those are people who are really bad at math, who don't understand the numbers.
No, I think there's some truth in that.
And with entrepreneurship, it's more taking a calculated risk. So I've had some people say to me, well, why don't you come up to the Racino, or we're going up to Saratoga to watch the horses, and I'm like, I'm gambling every day. Right. I have my own business. I don't need to gamble anymore.
Because I think of the family or children. So a man wakes up or a woman wakes up, and in the past they have been important in supporting the family. And they start talking about starting their own business, and I can see that perhaps the rest of the family might want to buy into that before they feel like they're being pulled off this.
Right. Well, you certainly do need a lot of family support. Now here's an example. I have a client, I will keep his name confidential. He just got laid off from his job. He makes $100,000 a year. He has a very nice house. He's in a niche business, so it's very hard for him to transition. And I think one of the things that he's learned is that there is no job security. Now, he has a lot of assets, so it's very difficult to think, gosh, if I start my own business, maybe my first year I'm only going to be making $20,000 or $25,000. But the reality is you have to think long term. So maybe in 5 or 6 or 7 years, you're going to be making what you once did. But the other thing is you're building something for your own future. Plus, when your kids get off at the bus stop at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can decide to take time off to do that. Now, I just got back from an expedition to Mount Rainier, and I wasn't successful. But I decided that I was going to build my schedule around this trip. I didn't have to ask for time off. I didn't have to fill out a time card. No one in the office got resentful because I was taking time off. So there is huge rewards that way.
Now, the second pillar, that made me feel a lot better. I half forgot what it was, but it had to do with the idea that
believe in something.
Believe in something.
So if you don't, you have to have a product or a service that you really believe in. And if people can't see your passion, you won't be successful. So I tell people who come to me for tips and advice about starting a business that you must be passionate about it, to the point that you're obsessive about it. the most successful business owners were a little OCD about their product or service. And when you're that way, people will see that and they'll want to buy your product. People can tell whether you're not into your product or service.
I want to go into that a little more. Let's say you have an idea about something. How do you get passionate? I mean, you're not born passionate. How do you get passionate about something?
How do you get passionate about something? I don't know if there is a path to passion. You just either are passionate about it or you're not.
I guess I was fishing for, if you think it'll work, you know, if you've thought about it enough and you see, oh, this could work and this can help people, and the more you experience kind of a feed-forward idea, you know, you project, the more you think this can work, the more excited you could get about it.
Right. Well, I think the key to entrepreneurship is trying to solve some kind of problem. So you have to search your heart and say, what are the problems that really bother me the most? Or what are the products and services that I really like that other companies produce, but I could produce it better? Or I could produce an add-on to this. So I think that's the way you have to think about things. So for example, as many people know, I'm a mountain climber, and we used to have to take these bottles of water hiking, we put them in our pack. So every time we wanted a drink of water, we would have to stop, pull out, you know, take off our packs, and get the bottle of water out, sip the water, put it back in the pack, put the pack back on. Well, every time you do that, that takes time. Well, somebody said, that's a pain in the neck. It really bothers me to do that. So that's when they came up with the Camelback. And a Camelback is this giant plastic bladder, and it's got a giant straw. So you put that in the back of your pack with a giant straw, and you just sip it whenever you want. So that was solving a problem. People now pay for this kind of thing. And of course, it's gone through many generations of upgrading and things like that. Now it comes with this fancy valve and things like that.
I can relate. I like to hike also, and with me, I'm not up to the Camelback, but I stand next to somebody and say, would you hand me my bottle of water? This might be better.
Absolutely. Now, when you're doing that, you're getting more. You're probably going to drink more, and you're not stopping, so you're saving time.
And you're drinking it at the best time.
You're
not waiting until you're falling over.
And you don't have to ask somebody, please stop so I can have a drink
Right.
of water when you may not want a drink of water. So this obviously solves a problem. So that's the way you have to look at your own entrepreneurship, is what problems really bother you the most.
When I was thinking about the show, I thought about what businesses there are, and I was just wondering about people. Of course, we said you need a passion, and that may predispose you to needing some experience with something, and then that would lead you to a path of where you want to go. I was concerned about people saying, what kind of business can I think of that I might be able to start, and then think of all the normal things. Do you know of any unusual things that people do, maybe to help unblock a little creativity? Because you gave one just now.
Right. Well, what I try to do in my career counseling business is I try to tap into what people are the most passionate about. So I will give them an enormous survey that they fill out, and then I'll see these patterns over and over and over again. So I'll try to pick up on those things. So I'll ask a question like, you know, what do you do that is so, give me 5 examples of 5 things that you do that are so effortless that it's not work. And that's a key question. So they'll give me 5 examples of like that. And I'll say another question would be like, what would you do professionally if you knew you were going to die in 5 years? And so I'll get some information. A lot of people do know internally what they want, but they can't verbalize it. So I pull those kind of things out.
Subconscious.
So a lot of times people will say, I want to start a business, but I don't know what it is. And then I'll go back and say, what are you the most passionate about? What are the things that you just love to do? And then you have to find something that you're passionate about. You have to find something that you're skilled, and then you have to find a market for it. So, you know, if I love, you know, medieval mythology, not medieval mythology, or just mythology in general, or medieval, you know.
It might be hard to find a job in all of those places.
There might just be no market for this type of service. And that's why you have to beta test it. You have to see, you know, is this worthy? You have to come up with a business plan. Very, very important. Failing to plan is planning to fail. There are a lot of people who have these great, passionate ideas about things that they'd like to do. There's no market for it.
So we've got some major things. You need passion, You need an idea. You need support. Now, when you said support, did you mean support that the product is good, or did you mean the family support?
You need support from. You need financial backers. You need family support. They have to be on board. I don't think you'll be successful if your family's saying don't do this and you're trying to do it, because there has to be sacrifice, and that's what an entrepreneurial venture is really about. Is what are you willing to sacrifice to get to this higher level? And many people are not willing to sacrifice to get to that higher level. You need emotional support. You need a team of what I would call a dream team of advisors, CPA, attorneys, marketing specialists, people that you can go to for help and advice.
Other things that people should have, other traits. I could see that nobody's perfect. You can come to this and you can be willing to work. You have a work ethic that goes back to your childhood. Your father had you building things when you were 4 or something. Are there other things? What do you do if you're not perfect? What kind of limitations? How do you overcome things?
Well, there are a couple things. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I have to be clear about that. Entrepreneurship, though, is the backbone of this economy. I mean, if you look around the capital region, there's more people with small businesses than with big businesses. You have to understand and do what I would call an inventory of your strengths and your weaknesses. And then don't do your weaknesses. Get somebody to do those things. Now, I can get QuickBooks and do my taxes. I don't. I pay somebody to do that because he's an SME, a subject matter expert. He knows how to do that better than I do. I have somebody do my website. I don't do that very well. I sell very well. I don't need a sales force to do that. I can design my own programs and workshops and speaking engagements and resources for my clients. So I stick to those things that I do best.
That's a nice way to divide it up. Yeah. So if you are skilled at one thing, you really ought to not waste your time doing things that really you're not that good at.
At the same time, I'm the OEO of Careers in Transition.
Okay, what's that?
Only executive officer.
Okay.
So I'm the CEO, I'm the CFO, I'm the Chief Operating Officer, I'm the Chief Technology Officer, I'm Vice President of Sales, I'm Director of Human Resources, I'm the Secretary, the Receptionist, the Bottle Washer, Postal Services, I'm the Purchasing Agent. You do everything. So one of the things
you're number one volunteer. In other words.
I am. Yeah, and especially in your first year, it is kind of like volunteering for a community service project because a lot of people don't make money their first year. So when you're working for other people, you may say, that's not my job, or I don't feel skilled, and I can't do that. When you're in your own operation and you don't know if you're going to, you are desperate to put food on your table, you're not going to say, that's not my job, or I can't do that. So it gets you, it creates more confidence. I'm not going to say, well, I can't really do this today. No, suck it up. You're going to do it because there is no one else in this office that is going to do it.
Right. So you learn.
You learn that of self-reliance. And that personally and psychologically is going to get you to a higher level. So I've noticed people who stop working for other people and then they start their own businesses. They're living at a higher level because they're required to use all their skills and experience and just take it to the next level. For one analogy might be it's the difference between high school and college.
Right.
In high school, everything's prescribed for you. These are the classes you take. This is when you have to be in homeroom. This is when the classes are. It's extremely structured, and you get a lot of security.
And you're going to eat whether you fail or not.
Right.
Probably.
That's right. And you do what you're told, and that's the way it is. In college, you don't want to show up for class, you don't show up for class. If you don't show up for class, and you keep not showing up for class, you can fail out. So there requires a lot more self-discipline. There hasn't been one day that I wake up and I say, I want to sleep in today. I always go to work at the same time, Monday through Friday. I don't work weekends. I don't have a computer at home. I turn off and I disconnect.
So that goes a little bit against the stereotype, the 7-day-a-week, the 97-hour job.
You don't have to do that. Do you have to work a lot of hours? I worked a lot of hours initially, but I'm also self-disciplined and I'm going to set better boundaries. I'm not on call on the weekends. I have mountains to climb, and I have a daughter to raise. And that's why I'm doing this, so that I have more flexibility and creativity so that I can spend more time.
Are you motivated to put money away so that you'll have even more freedom in the future?
I have a 401k through my company. I put money in that. So.
And if you don't do it, who's going to yell at you?
Well, it's automatically deducted. So I can't get out of it. There are a lot of benefits of starting a business, but it is probably one of the most terrifying things anyone can do.
Social skills are, I mean, for most businesses, they're vital. Can somebody overcome problems with temper or that kind of thing and still succeed?
It shocks me sometimes when I see small businesses run by people who are idiots.
Well, that's putting it gently.
Yeah, and people who have these tempers and things like that. But what I've also noticed is that I always support local small businesses because they're like me. And they tend to give you better customer service than the mega corporation. And I've noticed, especially small business owners in general, tend to be very customer service oriented. And if things don't work out, they'll bend the rules, or sometimes they don't have any rules. They just want you to be happy. I know that I'm going to give my client 110%. I'm going to treat them like it was my daughter's own career development, because I know that this is a small community, and that person is going to go out and either say something bad about me, or they're going to say something good about me. If I do something wrong, they're going to tell 10 people. If I do something good, they're going to tell 5. So you want to have as many ambassadors out there for your business.
So I think you're also going, I guess, helping with these statistics, which are a little bit disconcerting. You look at how many small businesses fail. Out of 100 that start today, how many of those are still going to be here in 5 years? And it can be fairly small, but if you take away a lot of things where somebody decides to sell, or somebody is really ill-suited in the beginning, then maybe somebody who really has the right attitude and thinks it through, they're going to have a much, much higher chance of success.
A lot of people have great ideas about what businesses they would like to do, but sometimes they're so pie in the sky, or they're esoteric and no one can understand these types of businesses. And if somebody can't understand your business at an 8th grade level, it's very hard to buy that. Kind of business. You do have to have a plan. You've got to have the passion. You've got to have the skill set. You've got to have the business plan. You've got to have some kind of financial backing. Maybe starting a business right now is not a good idea, but maybe it's a good idea 2 years from now. So let's start saving the money for that day when you want to have your own business. Maybe you don't have a clear picture of the product or service that you want to have out there. So there's a whole lot of factors that need to go into it, other than just saying, oh, I've always thought about having my own business. That's sort of commitment turns a promise into a reality. And so you've got to go from that dream of that fleeting idea into something that's strategic.
Of someone who would go to a career counselor, we already have a set. I mean, that's like a survey where you're asking a certain group of people how they behaved. But with that in mind, do you have many people who, after they get counseling, after they go through your system, do they then say, well, I don't think that was a good idea?
To start a business?
Right.
Well, my process is self-assessment, career exploration, and then action plan. So I'm trying to get the clients to answer 3 questions, and they are, who am I, where am I going, and how do I get there? And in the how to get there, you have 3 choices. You can either do a job search, go back to school, or start a business.
So you don't start out with the idea that this person
no.
has to be an entrepreneur.
No, that's the last step in the process. I don't do any of that stuff until the very end.
So I was biased because of the subject here.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, you're starting with step 3 first, and which is the problem with many of the people that come to me. They're starting with step 3 first. They've got to answer these questions in order. Who am I? Which is skills, values, and interests. Where am I going? what are my options, and how do I get there? So when you say, I want to start my own business, and I say, what kind of business do you want to start? And you say, I don't know, that's because you haven't answered the first two questions.
Okay. Planning is important, and I think I like planning.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a person is either more into planning or more into action, though. How do you balance planning and action? Can you overplan and underact?
Well, starting a business is like cooking. You can go to your refrigerator and see what you've got and whip up what you can, or you can decide, I'm going to cook this meal, I'm going to go out and do my grocery shopping and get these ingredients in order to cook this thing. And sometimes when you just go to your refrigerator and you find whatever you have, you can create something that you didn't think that you could create. So both approaches are okay. I usually take the planned approach. You're not going to get any financial backing unless you have a business plan.
Yeah, that's one of the fundamental things everybody's saying.
You have to
have
have
marketing plan is.
You have to have a marketing
first.
plan. You have to have a financial plan. You have to define what your product or service is. The bottom line with my process and with entrepreneurship is clarity. Do you have clarity on what you're doing? Do you know the specific action steps that you need to take in order to achieve this goal? Do you have a timeline in order to do this? Most people who start businesses are out-of-the-box kind of people. So they have a tendency to shoot, from the hip.
Right.
And that's why most businesses fail, is because they don't have a business plan. They don't plan for contingencies like the worst recession that we're ever experienced. They don't have reserve capital. I have a pot of money that's reserve capital in case there's a problem. So they don't really plan ahead. Like I said before, failing to plan is planning to fail. Now, like my Mount Rainier trip, the outcome didn't go according to plan, but I was trained and I had a backup plan.
And that really saved you.
Yes, it really did. Yes, from the crevasse fall. Yes.
Right. You say look before you leap, which is an old saying, and I think it fits well with Mount Rainier or starting a new business. Do you have situations where it's not you work for somebody else or you start your own business? We were in conversation before we started. I was thinking of in a restaurant. You don't open a restaurant if you don't know how to cook or you don't know how to run a catering business. There's got to be some skills set that you already have. So is there a way to say, yes, I really feel like I want to do this, but you counsel somebody to work for someone else for a while to learn more about what they're about to do?
There's three things that you need to do. You need to do reading and research. You need to talk to people who are in those fields. You need to gain some kind of experience, and then you need to evaluate. So if you're thinking about opening up a restaurant, or let's just say you want to, bake cookies and sell cookies like Mrs. Fields. So
that's two ways to look at it.
Let's say that you want to bake cookies. You start baking them out of your house, and then you start selling them, and still the Department of Health comes by and says you can't do that anymore. Right. But it's low risk. Mrs. Fields has her job
so you can
doing
start
well. That's the key to entrepreneurship, is not to go out and get the 25,000 square foot warehouse. Is that you start small, and then you can make these little mistakes, and you can keep your day job.
Okay, so you could go either way. You could come with experience. You can set up something that maybe has already worked before. Maybe you buy a business that's already a going concern.
Mm-hmm. And you want to take it to the next level.
Right.
That's one avenue. That's the nice thing about entrepreneurship. It can be all types of things. An entrepreneur could be a consultant, like I'm a career consultant. That's entrepreneurship. Starting your own business, your own restaurant, developing a new product or service. I mean, Steve Jobs was an entrepreneur. He's building computers out of his garage. And I'm sure at the time people are thinking, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah, I would think so.
Now, as an entrepreneur, people will tell you that is a stupid idea. Sometimes it really is a stupid idea. And other times people are saying it's a stupid idea because they're fearful or the product or service is ahead of their time. So when Steve Jobs is building computers out of his garage, people are like, what's a computer? What is that? But we know what he has built. Now, if Steve Jobs had gone and worked for other people, he wouldn't be Steve Jobs. We wouldn't have an iPhone.
He couldn't go.
We wouldn't have an
work for
iPhone.
Apple.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah. We wouldn't have an iPhone. We wouldn't have an iPod. Things like that.
So we're almost to wrap up time, and I guess it's a good time to fill in where I've missed. Anything that you think I left out?
I think the baby boomers and Generation X have seen a lot of this downsizing, and we are quite frankly sick and tired of working for other people, and we are going to create our own job security. And that is, we're also going to have better work-life balance as a result of this, but that is going to come at enormous sacrifice. But if you have the courage to do this, it can be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life.
Let's just for a last moment talk about ethics and social welfare.
Well, you can combine both making money and doing good for the world. I would like to think I change people's lives. I help them with direction. I got an email today from someone. I wrote a career blog about my crevasse experience and how it related to careers, and the person was completely inspired and ready to move forward with their own career development. So I can go to bed tonight feeling like I helped them, and I'm going to make some money this evening because I have a new client coming in.
And really, every business should be like that,
right?
No matter what it is, bicycle, cars, whatever. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure being here, and I would just advise the viewers. I hope that they'll start a side business out of their house and see what happens.
Good way to do it.
Take the risk.
Good way to do it. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you did, send us an email and let us know. Till the next time, have a great week. Take care.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.